They call the men who fought in World War II the greatest generation. In The Price of Freedom, I had the honor of talking to a World War II veteran in North Georgia several months ago, D Bain, and he is not the kind of person that's ever going to talk about how great he is. But we did talk about what happened one night in a tiny village on the way to Berlin, a night he will never forget. And we talked about growing beans and corn in his garden.
Was a young man working in West Virginia coal mines, and they attacked Pearl Harbor.
If you spent 99 years on this earth, what would you remember most?
Raised on a garden, and I just always loved to see it grow.
Growing.
D Bain.
D Bain.
D Bain. My name is Dolus Bain.
He grew a family. He was a pastor, grew churches from Chicago to Georgia. In 1944 and 1945, he was a young man. He grew up fast.
So they invaded France. I was in England. That's where we landed when we left the States.
Not long after D-Day, he entered the war on those same beaches. He was at the Battle of the Bulge, Germany's last chance to stop the Allied forces. He was an Army medic and spent 10 months on the front line. The story is fascinating. He told me all of it in his kitchen in Trenton, Georgia, sitting across the room from his Legion of Honor medal, the highest French military honor, and beside a helmet with a hole in it.
Just knocked me out crazy nearly.
Make that 3 holes. It was sitting right next to the mason jar, salt, and pepper shaker.
We'd had a bad accident one night, killed a squad of men in a room where I was there, and I missed it. I laid my helmet down beside of me. I sit down.
That same helmet on the table. He says someone dropped an anti-tank weapon in that room. The blast put those holes in that helmet, and it killed all of his best friends.
The shrapnel from this weapon that killed that room full of men right by my face, and it just really shocked me.
And thank you so much for doing this.
Sure, no problem.
All right. Dr. Christina Marini is a researcher. She spent a lot of time studying and writing about the impact of combat trauma on veterans as they grow older.
We do see that, veterans who've experienced a lot of combat or trauma are more likely to identify that their service had some protective or positive impact on their lives, especially if they've had people that they could talk to about it, like a spouse or comrades, if they've remained connected in those ways.
And that is one thing that is true about D Bain. He saw horrific events at war, but he came home to a wife. They were together for 71 years and a son. He was born on D-Day. His corn didn't grow in his garden, but his beans did. And as these years grow, D Bain continues to find meaning in those 2 years he spent fighting a war across Europe.
When we fought that battle, we felt like we were fighting for something, and we were.
D Bain received 2 Bronze Stars in the war. I mentioned the greatest generation earlier and how D Bain is never going to tell you how great he is. I talked to Mr. Bain's grandson. He's also a pastor in Kentucky. He told me, quote, D Bain is the greatest man I know. You can find the full interview with Dr. Marini as well. It's all on our website, newschannel9.com.